Whether you're watching live or on replay, welcome to Next Gen Narratives, Brand Edition. This is our quarterly showcase for our Thought Leader Academy, and we are so excited today to welcome 7 members of the Thought Leader Academy, each of them giving us their brand story. This is going to be an incredible hour or so of content where you're going to learn a little bit more about the thought leaders who are building and growing who they are and what they say in the Thought Leader Academy. We are welcoming many people from different backgrounds and different areas of expertise. So make sure you stay with us for the full hour that we're going to be here today. And I have the absolute pleasure today of introducing you to our host, Ian Keeling. Ian is one of our coaches in the Thought Leader Academy, as well as one of our coaches at Talk Boutique as well. Now, if you're not familiar with Talk Boutique and the Thought Leader Academy, let me tell you just a little bit about us. Talk Boutique is our corporate brand. We work with corporate leaders and executives, as well as teams, helping them to communicate better and share their message more widely. We amplify the messages of the thought leaders within our organization through our Thought Leader Speakers Bureau. And we've got a curated group of thought leaders, each who are sharing messages that will impact the way in which our future is being formed. On the Thought Leader Academy side, this is where our coaching happens. And we work with individuals and group coaching, working with people who are stepping into their thought leadership or have already built a thought leader brand and want to amplify it further. We work with them on helping them to create and share messages, build personal brands, and create communities that support and amplify who they are. And Ian is an integral part of that program. Ian comes from over 20 years of corporate communications, working with individuals, teams, and executives. He also is an award-winning science fiction author, as well as faculty at Second City. So what Ian brings is the combination of deep storytelling and narrative development, as well as an expertise in helping people show up on stage, able to show their best because they understand how to show up confidently and with a message that matters. So without further ado, let me hand the stage over to my host and my friend, Ian Keeling.
Thanks, Andrea. I want to welcome everyone here today, and you're in for an excellent time. I'm not going to do a lot of preamble because, quite frankly, I'm the least interesting person that you're going to see today. But you are going to see 7 speakers, and like Andrea said, they're all going to be speaking on a variety of topics, all with a deep level of thought leadership. So I'm going to jump right into the bio of our first speaker, and then we're going to get them on board so we can get this thing going. So Isabelle Fortin. Isabelle empowers human-centered leaders to understand and adapt their leadership style so that everyone gets the goal. Her revolutionary behavior and motivational assessment helps leaders motivate, validate, and evaluate each individual on their team. After over 3 decades of experience in the military and as a managing business owner, she uses her innovative strategies to help CEOs and HR leaders improve communication, culture, retention, and profitability. Her consulting and speaking styles are customized for every client, empowering them to go against the ordinary, a mantra that she has affectionately come to be known for. She's also the host of the Leadership Strategy live stream featuring tried and tested leaders who are willing to share their journey. Ladies and gentlemen, we are ready for our next speaker, the first one of the day. So please put your virtual hands together, speaking about human-centered leadership, Isabelle Fortin.
Thank you, Ian. Guys, I want you to imagine this scenario. You have a team of highly qualified professionals, and on paper, your team is absolutely perfect. In reality, it's chaos. Sounds familiar? Well, unfortunately, it sounds familiar to a lot of us. About 2 months ago, I worked with a team leader, and on paper, she had the best team in the world. 6 highly qualified people, all post PhD graduates. They all had deep experience in what they do for a living and in their work. But when you walked in the office, oh, you wouldn't have guessed that. Instead, what you saw was a lot of infighting, pettiness, and people protecting their turf and undermining one another. It was way more like a kindergarten than it was like a professional office. And the leader, well, she was frustrated. She had tried everything. She had tried having group conversations, have individual conversation. She had tried laying down the law, and she had tried the friendly approach too. And honestly, all of this infighting was driving her crazy because she was unable to do her job because she was spending all of her time babysitting. So when we started working together, I went into detective mode. She didn't have time to be slow walk through this. She needed to get through the root of the problem as quickly as possible so we can fix it and she can go back to work. So what I did is I use a psychometric assessment. So it measures cognitive, behavioral, communication, and leadership preferences. So basically, the way that people behave and think. And right away, I saw what was the problem. You see, 5 people out of 6 had very similar personality types. The way that they interacted with one another were all pretty much congruent. But the 6th one was at the complete opposite. That difference in personality had been overlooked all this time, and that was the root of the problem. You see, the way one person was communicating just wasn't being received by the others. It wasn't pettiness, it was different communication style. And once they all understood that it was just a different way of being, they all started adapting to one another and the infighting stopped immediately. You see, I stand for human centered leadership, and I will show you that by tapping into the uniqueness of each team member, each individual, you will build a better company culture, improve employee retention, boost productivity, and profitability. And who doesn't want that? So how do you do that? Well, you do that by getting to know each team member on an individual basis. And I'm not talking what their favorite color or what their favorite meals or what they do on the weekends, although that's good to know. I'm talking at a deeper level. So the first thing that you should get to know is the cognitive preferences. Okay, so that's a very fancy word, but what does it mean? Well, the cognitive preferences, we all have one. That's the first thing. And the second is it's the way that you process information. It's the way that you solve problems. And it's the way that you take decisions. Because when you know what your team members' cognitive preferences are, what you can do as a team leader is you can match the tasks with the people's strength and unique abilities. And that will help them do their job better and like their job more. And the bonus side effect of that is when you do what you're good at, you know exactly how you contribute to a team. It makes you feel valued. The second thing is getting to know your team member communication preferences. We all communicate in different ways. And by communication here, I'm not talking email or meetings or one on one. That's not what I mean. Some people are a straight shooter. They don't want you to beat around the bush. They want you to go straight to the point, even if it's going to be painful. And some of them want a little bit more meat on their bones, right? By knowing the kind of communication preferences your team member, and that also applies to your significant other and your family member, what that enables you to do is tailor your communication to fit each and every single individual. And what does that do? Well, that makes people feel like they can trust you. It builds stronger relationship, and it makes people feel respected. And that's very, very important, because when you're respected, you're going to go a lot, you're going to be willing to do a lot more things when you feel that way. And the last thing, but certainly not the least, is you need to understand the motivations of people. And people scream their motivations at you all the time. If they are complaining about so and so always being late, well, more than likely what they're saying to you is that time is very, very valuable for them. So when you pay attention to these things, you get a hell of a lot more done. So by knowing what drives people, their motivation, how do they like to learn? Well, motivation is the fuel. If your cognitive or your communication preferences is like the car or the kind of car that you drive, your motivation is the kind of fuel you put in the car. It's what drives you. And that is so, so, so important. When you're capable of tapping into that, that is the key of getting anything done. You see, leadership used to be about command and control. It used to be fear based. And thank God those days are over. And then slowly we transitioned to leading with knowledge. It was the person who knew the most who was the leader, who was in charge. Leadership of the future is going to be about the heart. Leadership of the future is human-centered leaders. Thank you, guys. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Isabelle. That was fantastic.
Okay.
I think, A, we got off to a great start, but B, I find that message and the way leadership is evolving, I find that so inspiring. And like I said, we're off to a good start. So let's move on to our second speaker. Our second speaker is going to be Zabeen Hirji. Zabeen is a retirement disruptor who has crafted a purposeful third act and makes impact by activating her purpose. Her mission is to scale that concept. She is a strategic advisor to business and the public sector, a thought leader in people and culture, speaker, writer, convener, mentor, and board director. In her second act, she has had a distinguished career in RBC, culminating in 10 years as Chief Human Resources Officer. She has received numerous awards in recognition for her leadership in business, human resources, equity, diversity, and inclusion. Asking a question that maybe we should all ask as we get a little older: what if we reimagined retirement as a purposeful third act? Please put your hands together once again virtually for our second speaker, Zabeen Hirji. Zabeen, I'm going to cut you off just for a second there. We are having some audio issues, so everybody's seeing you, but nobody's hearing you yet. So we're going to give you just a couple of seconds to sort that out before. So we're actually going to move on to our third speaker, and then we're going to come back to Zabeen in a minute. Because isn't it wonderful the way the world of tech works? It also could be me. I've often said that I'm a little like Sam Neill in that very first Jurassic Park movie, where very early on he gets a little too close to a screen and it just goes white. So hopefully my magnetic field isn't affecting this. But our next speaker, and then we're going to come back to Zabeen. Our next speaker is going to be Karen Agro. Karen is a renowned classical guitarist, healthcare expert, and leader in sound therapy. And she delivers engaging and impactful keynotes and workshops that teach corporate teams how to enhance productivity, overcome creativity blocks, and unleash their best work through science-backed power of music. With a proven track record of transforming leaders in the corporate sector, academia, and healthcare across Canada and the USA, Karen's unique blend of education and entertainment, edutainment, promises an unforgettable experience. Offering her prescription for success, harnessing the power of music. Please again put your virtual hands together for our next speaker, Karen Agro.
Hello, can everyone hear me okay? I assume that's a yes. Fantastic. Okay, we've got a thumbs up on the audio. I'm lying on a cold floor, the sun shining on my face, looking up at the ceiling in a rock climbing gym in San Francisco. I've just free fallen 15 feet, landing with a thud. My arm angled unnaturally behind me, my mind muddled from the impact. I can feel the warmth of the morphine injection radiating up my neck, and I can hear the paramedics calling in a suspected spinal fracture. I'm terrified. As the team moved me onto the stretcher, they asked me, "What do you do for a living?" And I said, "I'm a musician." The reality, I wasn't a musician. My dreams of being a musician had died in my teens. I was a pharmacist and a consultant. But in the pain and fear of that moment, I intuitively knew that music was going to save me. And so I embraced my inner musician. Because music is personalized sonic medicine. It gives us what we need in the moment. It suspends time, especially in anxious or stressful situations, creating relief by bringing us into the present moment. And it also interacts and interfaces with our physiology, allowing us to dial up or down our response to any situation. And when we do this, our well-being is maintained and we build our resilience. So what I've learned throughout the years is that music helps you manage your mood and emotions without any extra effort, but it took me a while to get there. Lying on that cold floor, I intuitively knew that music was the thing that was going to save me. But my work was not on my mind at that moment. Having spent the last 25 years consulting to the pharmaceutical industry, gaining a doctor of pharmacy and a master's in science, and running a very successful business, what was running through my mind was the promise I made to myself at age 18 as to whether I would go into music or pharmacy. And I chose pharmacy and the sciences with a promise to go back. But tragedy is the greatest teacher. And in that moment, I had a choice to make. Honor the promise I made to myself or fall back into the rut that I had fallen into. And let's face it, so many of us know about that rut. It's not that we hate our jobs, it's just everything has become routine. But music can be the medicine we need to help ourselves get out of that rut, like our car getting stuck in a snowstorm on the highway. Music can act as the first gear to power us out of the situation. How many of you have been listening to a song on the radio, and in an instant, you're singing in full voice and your mind has gone elsewhere to a very happy place and you're feeling joyful and free? No pill works that quickly. Music can also act as a wedge under our tires, freeing us from the emotional state we're in. And music can also act as a tow, allowing us to release all the emotions and have a good cathartic cry. We all know that breakup song we listen to on repeat to heal. Interestingly, the British Academy of Sound Therapy found that music takes only 13 minutes or less to release sadness, and less than 10 minutes for music to bring us to happiness. No wonder we listen on repeat. The realities of our day impact the energy and the mindset that we bring to our lives. And moments of stress impair our creativity, especially in fast-paced environments. But music helps us dial into our ideal mood and lift us out of mental blocks so that we can bring our best selves to our lives and our work. Now, music, as I mentioned, can also act as an interface to our physiology. It directly affects our heart rate, our breathing, and our neurochemistry. During my recovery, music was one of the most important medicines I took. On one hand, I received the fantastic news that I did not have a spinal fracture. But on the other hand, I received the unfortunate news that I would have to undergo elbow reconstructive surgery with no guarantee of being able to play the guitar again. My arm actually was encased in a Borg-like exoskeleton for about 6 long months. Physiotherapy was tough, and I would find myself after sessions going back to my car and wanting to have a sleep for like half an hour, but I still had work to do. The feeling was much like that feeling we all get at the 3 p.m. slump, when our neurochemistry is in flux and we're just super tired at that point in the day. And what do? We grab caffeine and sugar. But instead, if we put on energizing music, we can get our hearts pumping and our blood flowing. Music also triggers the release of the feel-good chemical dopamine, which can make difficult tasks feel more achievable. Music can even make your workouts more effective, increasing exercise endurance by up to 15%, so that we can bring more energy to our lives and our work. Music is like the sustained release, high-quality energy pill without any side effects. And we can choose music to alter not only our mental, but our physical state and response in any situation. Many years later, I can look back on that accident and see it was a gift. And not every moment in life is as life-altering as having a tragic accident. But what I've learned throughout the years in now combining music and health is that music is far more potent and more effective than we give it credit for. Music is the ultimate science-based, mood-shifting motivation and productivity tool that we didn't know we needed. In my keynotes and corporate workshops, I teach corporate teams how to shift their mood, enhance their motivation and their productivity, and unleash creativity blocks so they can bring their best selves to their work through the power of music. Because we all have the ability to choose the music we need, and the choice and the power to choose when we need it, so that we can change how we show up in the moment, increasing our resilience and bringing our best selves forward to anything we face in our lives. Thank you. Oops, I don't think we can hear you, Ian.
That's not even my magnetic field. That's just sometimes I forget to turn off the mute button when I'm typing notes. But yeah, I was saying I think Karen's work with music, as someone who comes from an arts background themselves, I find that introducing that into sectors that maybe haven't always embraced that, it's amazing how effective that can be. All right, so we're going to bring Zabeen back on. We're just going to do a quick little mic check to make sure that, again, my magnetic field isn't affecting things. So let's bring Zabeen back on. Zabeen, how you doing?
Hi, Ian. Nice to be here.
See, we're good to go. So once again, folks, speaking about retirement as a purposeful third act, put your hands together for Zabeen.
Thank you, Ian, and hello, everyone. What if we reimagine retirement as a purposeful third act? It was November 1st, 2017, the day after I retired from a rewarding career at RBC. I asked myself, now what? I was excited about my next chapter and also anxious about the future. Was I stepping into an abyss? Virtually overnight, I had lost much of my identity and status. For 10 years, I'd been the Chief Human Resources Officer at the largest Canadian bank. My life was built on disciplined routines and an overflowing calendar at work with not much time for anything else to do. Now, what was I to do? I took a step back to reflect on my first two acts, trying to see who was I then, who I really was, not what other people told me I was or wanted me to be. How was I supposed to live my life? What was I supposed to accomplish? And the toughest question, who did I want to be? Once I defined my purpose, which is to unlock the potential of people and build inclusive prosperity, I designed a life where I use my skills, relationships, resources, and passion to make social impact. This marked the beginning of my purposeful third act, where I strive to reach people with ideas that make them think and act differently. I want to build a movement where people lead purposeful third acts and make meaningful social and environmental impact. So, why is this the right time? Number one, we're in the midst of a longevity revolution, living longer, healthier lives. Isn't it time to redefine age as something of value, as potential to be unlocked? We live on average 33 years longer than our great grandparents did. The 100-year life is upon us. How can older people, society, and economies all benefit from this? We continue to operate with this outdated mindset that life is a linear progression from school to work to a hard stop retirement in our 60s. This is wasteful of talent and contribution. Most people still have 20 plus years of productive life left. Our third act can be a time to create a portfolio life of personal and professional endeavors that add great value to society. Number two, individuals are seeking purpose. This yearning deepened in the pandemic as we reflected on our lives to see what was missing. People want to do and to be more, especially during their third acts. The Journal of Happiness Studies reported a strong purpose happiness link. When people feel a greater sense of purpose, they feel more positive emotions and greater satisfaction with life and well-being. Now, let me be honest. I expected my purposeful third act to last 5 years, and then I'd retire the conventional way. Well, I was wrong. I realized it could be 20 plus years and the path to living my best life and contributing to building a better Canada for future generations. I immigrated to Canada as a teenager and am grateful for the opportunities I've had. I want to help ensure the next generations also have opportunities to succeed. That matters a lot to me. I believe living your purpose to make an impact while also learning is the secret sauce to a healthier and more joyful life. Number three, society and the environment will be a beneficiary if we scale purposeful third act. Now, we all know the world faces significant challenges: climate change, geopolitical instability, mental health, rising inequality, all of which amplify social and economic divisions. A Laurier Institute study just recently reported that only 30% of young Canadians expect to enjoy a better standard of living than their parents. Think about that. Isn't it time to benefit from the collective wisdom and expertise of people in their third acts? Today, I wear many hats: strategic advisor, writer, speaker, mentor, coach, convener, board director. My choices are guided by my purpose and values. It's about impact, learning, and joy. A stark contrast from the discomfort and destabilizing feelings I had when I first retired. Let me be clear about one thing. I get more than I give in my purposeful third act, where I strive to unlock the potential of people and build inclusive prosperity. It's time to redefine age as something of value, as potential to be unlocked. I want to build a movement where people lead purposeful third acts, making meaningful societal impact. Will you join me in turning this moment into a movement where living purposeful third acts becomes a new way of life, where together we ensure a brighter future for our children and our grandchildren? If not now, then when? Thank you.
Thanks, Zabeen. That was fantastic. That was such an uplifting end. Okay, folks, we are halfway through, and I don't know if maybe the host stops hitting the mute button at the wrong time for himself and others. I think the second half will go even better. So let's get started. But before we bring on our fourth speaker, I just wanted to call attention to the QR codes that you're seeing on the screen come up. If you do want a deeper dive into our speakers and what they do, scan that code and you get to find out even more than you've learned today. All right, we are ready for our fourth speaker, Bob Calvert. And he has experienced a transformative journey with emotional work at 45 years old, which led him to a profound realization. The essence of our emotional system can be simplified into relatable concepts and should be taught to children. Partnering with Janice Berger, he spearheaded the development of an innovative emotional literacy course. Now Bob is dedicated to reshaping how youth understand and navigate their emotional worlds, aiming to prevent emotional pitfalls encountered during adolescence and beyond. Speaking about how feelings have meaning and shouldn't be a mystery to our kids. Please put your hands together for Bob Calvert.
Thanks, Ian. I am formally trained as an engineer, and for 30 years, I built complex systems for banks and insurance companies. Now, you may be wondering why an engineer has something important and insightful to say about feelings. Feelings originate from our emotional system. It is a system with understandable causes and effects. I'm very good at understanding systems, but for the first 45 years of my life, this system made no sense to me. At 45, in an emotional crisis, I was fortunate enough to read a book called Emotional Fitness by Janice Berger. I was shocked at my misconceptions and sad and disappointed that I had to wait 45 years to really make sense of my feelings. I had built my emotional understanding in my adolescence by watching Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock argue about the importance of feelings and how they might distort your decision making. I also learned a few other crazy things, like love means never having to say you're sorry from the movie Love Story. It turns out I'm not alone. There was no formal training about our emotional system when I was growing up. We teach our kids many systems in school: physics, chemistry, music, art, and historical cultures are all systems that can be understood. If I had understood my emotional system at 12, I would have created better relationships and I would have been a better parent. We need to change this. So I approached Janice about building a program so adolescents could make sense of their feelings and deal with the inevitable life challenges that they will face. A book wasn't going to work, so we settled on using clips from movies and television. With a little editing, some graphics, and a short narration to set the context, we can make learning about feelings fun and engaging. Here are some of the important concepts that the kids learn in their adolescence. We suppress our feelings to act appropriately. This is a skill that is actually taught in many schools with some success. We have many words to describe this. Self-regulating, compartmentalizing, distracting, and breathing techniques are all ways that we suppress our feelings to act appropriately in the moment. But the kids aren't getting the whole story. They don't know what to do with their feelings after they've acted appropriately. We hear comments like this. The How Are You Feeling program teaches you how to actually feel your feelings instead of pushing them to the side, which is what we learn in school. In order to work through feelings after you've acted appropriately, you need to feel the feelings until you gain insight and relief. This is how it works. A good example of this is illustrated in the Olympics. Most of the winners start processing their feelings of winning instantly. The unbridled joy, the cheers of happiness, and the inability to stand still are showing us that the feelings are flowing. It's wonderful to watch, and we can feel it empathetically by watching them. This is probably why we like watching it so much. But what about the losers? It's very difficult for them to process their feelings. It takes time. But the process works exactly the same way. We need to stay with the feelings, process them, and each time we do that, they'll lose a little bit of their power. We have the ability to put them to the side, which is great. But if we get triggered back to them, we need to recognize that we're not finished with the feelings and take that opportunity to process them a little more. There are serious consequences to not processing your feelings and not understanding how to do this. Acting out or underreacting on the people we love will really screw up relationships. Avoiding our feelings can lead to a lifelong struggle with depression and anxiety. And numbing our feelings with drugs and alcohol so we don't have to process our feelings can lead to addiction and even suicide. A 17-year-old student said to us, "It all seems very simple now that I understand it, but I didn't know this stuff before." Our emotional system is far from simple, but like every complex system that I've worked on, once you understand the fundamentals, it makes sense, and your nuanced understanding will grow with time. If your emotional understanding is based on misconceptions, it'll never make sense. It'll seem very complex, and we'll add coping behaviors on top of it to make it even more complex. This has got to stop. Our emotional system should not be a mystery to our kids. If we are aware and understand how to work through difficult feelings to relief, we can stay emotionally healthy and lead a satisfying life. It's time we got this information to all of our kids. Let's make it happen. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. That was not only fantastic, but as someone who grew up with a little too much, did we win the Stanley Cup? Okay, we can cry now. I think this message is so incredibly important because often we work on the rational side of ourselves, but we don't really process the emotions, and we've learned how important that is. We're ready for our penultimate speaker, and that's going to be Golddy Kaur. Golddy has 3 decades of medtech experience, and she is an agile and strategic leader uniquely blending industry knowledge, business, and financial acumen. With over a decade of working and building startups from the ground up, she has led functions of global operations, quality, regulatory, and clinical trials, everything from research and development to investigator-initiated research. And she is the founder and has worked with CEOs with innovative ideas to grow and scale their business and commercial success. Speaking about her brilliant founders network and membership community of medtech, health, and wellness startups, please put your virtual hands together for Golddy Kaur.
Thank you. Thank you, Ian. So, healthcare innovations provide unique solutions to public health problems. We have seen how recent pandemics and AI development have brought enormous changes. Telemedicine, telehealth, and many other innovations are revolutionizing this industry. The value of these startups is expected to surpass 47 billion by 2027. We are seeing startups in areas of mental health, patient care, fitness, nutrition, online services for patients and caregivers, health record services, algorithms for many different imaging modalities, and many more. It's a rapidly growing field. There are known factors that hinders the growth of new startups, such as understanding the stakeholders, changes and the challenges in product development, challenges with building the right team to execute the vision. And to top this all up, adoption challenges presented by bureaucratic and restrictive nature of current healthcare system. So there are many incubators to facilitate new venture and educate founders. However, the failure rate of healthcare startups ranges from 60 to 75%. These numbers present an opportunity to delve into problems and find solutions. So, founder in this area should thoroughly consider the challenges when building their startups. I have spent a decade building a successful startup. I know that incubator and conferences provide lots of information, but it's all generic and open to interpretations. As a founder and CEO, you need to raise money. And once you have funds, you plan where to use that money. You develop strategies and plans for developing technology, regulatory, manufacturing, marketing, and more. This is when things start to go sideways. Disconnection occurs, things take longer than expected, and money starts to disappear quickly. I have lived through these challenges and have a track record of success. I am a founder and CEO of Brilliant Founders Network. Being a founder and CEO is challenging and a lonely space. Brilliant Founders Network is a private and vetted membership community. We select founders and CEOs with innovative ideas and high growth potential and provide a collaborative space for them to grow and scale their business. We bring industry transformers and successful leaders so the founders can access the most relevant wisdom and strategies to grow their business. This platform provides support, like minded connections, and real world answers to unique challenges. We collapse time for them. We have identified 27 scaling and funding strategies. We listen to challenges and solutions you seek for your startup and offer customized solutions. This exclusive community can provide you with solutions unique to your startup and enables you to move to the next level. You can fast track results by joining Brilliant Founders Network and get the support, answers, and guidance you need to achieve high level, high growth potential. You work with me and many other industry leaders to identify immediate roadblocks showing that slowing you down and map steps to solve them, to identify weak links in your current plans and bring clarity for the next steps so you get where you want to be. We'll do a reality check on the most viable ideas you have. We resolve your stressors so you can focus on the results you deserve. Identify supportive resources, partnership, and growth potentials, focusing on quickly implementing practical plans. You are not alone. You will be with like minded founders and CEOs who encourage you, especially when you are giving up, you feel like you just can't do it. Our members and experts serves as sounding board and second pair of eyes to support you in achieving your goals. Apply to join us. We are here to provide you with the support and accountability you need to achieve desired results. Check out our website. It's brilliantfoundersnetwork.com. Thank you.
Thanks, Goldie. Once again, that was fantastic. And networking is such a huge process, especially if you're part of a startup. It is, like she said, very easy to feel like you're sort of wandering in the woods alone for a little while. So I lied to you. We actually have 2 more speakers. How about that? Our next speaker is going to be Rebecca Wildbear. Rebecca created wild yoga to connect with people and can get them to connect their bodies and souls by encouraging them to explore their dreams, listen to their bodies, and relate to the rivers, trees, and animals as conscious beings. She is the author of Wild Yoga, a practice of initiation, veneration, and advocacy for the earth. She leads wild yoga programs and guides in the Animas Valley Institute, and she has degrees and certifications, and you can visit her online at www.rebeccawildbear.com. Asking us to stretch our awareness and nourish ourselves with wild yoga. Your next speaker, Rebecca Wildbear.
Thank you, Ian. Glad to be here. I awaken at dawn to the distant songs of an abundance of birds and take in the vibrant colors and shapes of palm trees, red hibiscus flowers, and a pair of scarlet macaws. Looking out over the expanse of tropical rainforest in Punta Banco, Costa Rica, and the expanse of ocean beyond, my eyes fill with tears. Once it was like this everywhere, humans living within nature. I hear the crashing waves. I watch a troop of squirrel monkeys swinging through the canopy, and I breathe in the lang-lang tree's sweet scent. Living in the embrace of ocean and rainforest, as the resident yoga teacher of an off-grid eco farm, I unlearn separation and distraction. Finally, I am present enough to listen to myself and nature. I have not always been in touch with my body. When I was 21 and a semester away from college graduation, I received a cancer diagnosis. Non-Hodgkin's lymphoma formed a 9-centimeter tumor in the 2 lymph nodes in front of my heart. The prescription was chemotherapy and radiation, with a 33% chance I would be cured. I held my emotions in until the doctor said I couldn't return to summer camp because the risk of infection was too high. I wept. I would miss the rivers, the forests, the mountains. Being bald felt strange. The skin on my head touched my pillowcase, and strangers in the street stared at me. Without eyelashes, I blinked a lot to keep the dust out. After each chemotherapy treatment, the nausea and vomiting were intense. Not knowing how long I would live brought my attention to blossoming buds and the shimmering lake. Slowly, I began to notice a presence within myself. It felt divine and evoked a surprising joy. After 9 months of treatment, the cancer receded. I looked in the mirror at the stubble of hair on my head growing. After 5 years of checkups, the cancer was still gone. But I had begun to return to the rapid beat of mainstream culture, to work and survive. I was losing connection with my sacred heart that I had found while I was ill. Yet in the wilderness, I still felt enchanted. The rushing river, the night sky, the eyes of a deer. I enrolled in the Colorado Outward Bound School's 50-day wilderness leadership semester. I became a wilderness guide and a psychotherapist. I partnered with nature to support people in deepening their connection. My story is interwoven with ecocide. In college, I walked on farmlands, in parks and roads where a weed-killing product was extensively deployed. Humans exposed to glyphosate herbicides have a 41% chance increased risk of developing non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. The first time I went to Costa Rica was to do a yoga teacher training after spending 5 cold winters in Utah as a wilderness therapist in freezing temperatures with groups. Yoga taught me to nurture myself. I returned to Costa Rica for 12 winters. My body relaxed and began to vibrate in ways as I moved my body in pleasurable ways. New channels of communication opened within me and between me and nature. My body became a prayer of communion with the universe. I created wild yoga to help bring together the healing practice of yoga with reverence for nature. Wild yoga is about more than postures. The practices aim to engage our bodies, hearts, and imaginations so we can love ourselves, stretch our awareness, and deepen our relationship with the world. I help people attune to nature and their own wild bodies, souls, and dreams. Without these connections, humans lose themselves and cause damage. Our wellness is linked to the health of the planet. Close your eyes and notice the sensations within you. Exit your mind and imagine your body speaking. Look at the wild world like you did as a child. Be enchanted by hummingbird wings and the color of wildflowers. Feel your body as an extension of the Earth's body. Let nature influence your movements and inspire your imagination. Thank you.
Thanks, Rebecca. That was fantastic. And one of my favorite things, I got to work with Rebecca on some of her talks, and the specific details that she puts into her storytelling, I find just so evocative. All right, we are ready for our final speaker of the day, Zayna Khayat. Zayna is the in-house health futurist with Deloitte Canada's Healthcare and Life Sciences practice. She is adjunct faculty in the health sector strategy stream at the Rotman School of Management at the University of Toronto, where she instructs course SIN healthcare innovation and partnerships in the Health MBA program. She currently resides in Toronto with her husband and 3 children and is proficient in French and the Arabic languages and just a little bit of Dutch. She's coming out now. Hi, Zayna. How are you doing today?
Good. You can hear me okay?
I can hear you okay.
All right, let's go.
Yeah, folks, please, for the final time, put those virtual hands together. Speaking about creating the future of health, Zayna Khayat.
Hi, everyone. So today you get to tell your friends and family you met a health futurist. Actually, I'm an applied health futurist. I'm going to talk about how in the next decade, nearly all aspects of healthcare will be virtually unrecognizable from today, and how you're going to play an integral part in creating that future of health, whether you recognize it or not. So you see, our healthcare systems that we have today, they were designed in the industrial era, just after World War II, when our population was smaller, it was younger, and it was quite healthy. We are now older, fatter, and sicker, and there's a lot more of us. At that time, we had ample resources to pay for care. We had, most health systems are now broke and are collapsing. We had no computers at the time, let alone data to inform decisions. So in short, our healthcare systems that we still have today were designed 75 years ago to be crude, highly analog, imprecise, not really tailored to the individual. They were designed to be rationed. We have 20 to 30% of people in North America right now are waiting on a list to have a family doctor. 100 million Americans, 6 million Canadians. Most people are waiting 4 to 18 months to see a specialist to deal with something that their family doctor can't deal with. And many are waiting 18 months or more for surgery to get their lives back. And the last design feature was it was designed to be built for the system, not for the people. So experience has been just plainly terrible for patients and for clinicians. NPS scores, which you all likely know, in healthcare hover below 30%. Most are in the teens, whereas top performing organizations have an NPS of 80% or more. Engagement scores of staff who work in healthcare are well below 50%, which leads to difficulties recruiting health workers, let alone retaining them. In my former health org, we had attrition rates of 30%, which means patients go without care. So in nearly every country in the world, these three features of being crude, inaccessible, and a poor experience are why our health systems are not able to meet the needs of every citizen who funds them. So as a health futurist, I can so clearly see multiple credible paths towards a future of health that is not crude, but is rather intelligent, where data in near real time informs decisions right at the point of care. As a futurist, I can see clear paths where healthcare is more accessible and even democratized. That means that good care is there for the people who need it, when they need it, where they need it, and at a cost that is acceptable to society. And a future of health that provides an experience for patients, for families, and for clinicians that meets them where their expectations are and where they deserve to be. So this future of health sits on top of a health stack and a set of care models that are completely different from what's been in place for the last 75 years. So for example, if you or your child breaks a limb in the near future, you'll get your x-ray done at your nearest pharmacy. It'll be read by an AI radiologist. You'll consult with your surgeon, who's the best in the world at your type of surgery, live in the metaverse. And that surgeon will repair you using VR and robotics without being in the same OR, let alone the same continent as you. And you're going to 3D print your own meds that you need to recover at home in a little easy bake oven. I've just dated myself. We know, though, that the incumbents, your current clinics and clinicians and hospitals and insurers and drug makers, they are not going to be equipped to rebuild this system of healthcare for the future, at least not alone. And that's where you come in. You could have up to 3 vital roles in creating the future of health. The first is as a business or organization, you bring capabilities and assets that our legacy systems desperately need. Not even a decade ago, the likes of Apple, Google, Amazon, Instacart, Best Buy, and most telcos and grocers had no presence in healthcare. Now it is a top, if not the top, focus area for growth and impact. The second role you could play is as an employer. You are taking on a whole new set of responsibilities for the health and the vitality of your workers. Healthy people do amazing things, and employers can no longer rely on our formal healthcare systems the way they used to keep their workers healthy. And then lastly, you could take a role on as an individual consumer of health services for yourself or for the people you care about. So as an applied health futurist, I get to wake up every day and guide organizations and individuals to create the future of health, while also creatively destroying this status quo model from 75 years ago that no longer serves. And that is the ask and the opportunity for you. Every business will be a health business. Everyone will be a healthcare CEO. And you taking on these roles is critical to not only saving our health systems from collapse, but to create the future of health that is intelligent, that's democratized, and that creates a 21st century experience for everyone. So let's go do this.
And that's a pretty good finale. I want to thank everyone for coming, and we're going to bring Andrea back on to sort of wrap this whole thing up. It's pretty good, eh?
Ian, thanks. That was fantastic. I mean, you and I both work with our students, our members in the Thought Leader Academy, and it's so great to see them just presenting their content. You know, we saw them about 2 months ago doing the same thing, different stories, of course,
Yep.
but we can really see the difference, right? I mean, I know for me, I definitely am so proud to see each of them. Any thoughts from you on what you just witnessed?
The thing I just love is the variety of thought that you get, the variety of tone in the storytelling. And I mean, I think especially there's this undercurrent of embracing the human side on every single one of these messages that I think is just so important as we go forward in this rapidly technologically changing world.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that's one of the things that I feel so blessed and so proud to be able to do is to work with people on a human level, doing the work that we do, helping them to tell their stories and the stories that actually are creating change in our world. And it's exciting. And we're just at the beginning of a brand new quarter for the Thought Leader Academy, and so we're getting ready to and Ian, sorry, they just took you off screen, but wanted to say thank you. But we're getting ready to do another intake. In fact, right now, if you're on our mailing list, you would know that we've got a little summer special going on that is ending at the end of this month, so just in a couple of days. And so if you are interested in becoming a member of the Thought Leader Academy, we'll put the link in the show notes here. We'll make sure that everybody can get access to that extra special offer that we've got going on right now to try out the Thought Leader Academy for 3 months and see if it's something that you might want to be a part of. We are going to be doing another one of these showcases at the end of that quarter. So it'll be sometime around the end of November, the beginning of December. And this quarter, what we're focused on is telling your TED style talk. So we're going to work with you on building your very own TED style talk. And you just heard some of it today because each one of these stories has been built through the lens of the work that we did through TEDx Toronto and other TEDx's that I've worked on. The tools we use, the platform that we take, and the approach that we instill in everyone is a storytelling approach that allows for each person to tell their story with an idea inside of it. And if you're interested in learning that, make sure to check out the Thought Leader Academy and join us for the next 3 months. We'd love to have you. And with that, I think we're going to sign off. Thank you for all who showed up today to witness our members telling their stories and to hear what we're doing here at the Thought Leader Academy. Thank you so much. And check out this space again tomorrow, because of course, we'll be doing our thought of the day. I'm Andrea Sampson, the CEO and founder of Talk Boutique and the Thought Leader Academy.